Welcome to Village Church. We're committed to seeing people transformed into fully devoted followers of Jesus. We do this through focusing on gospel, community, and culture. Learn more about us at thisisvillagechurch.com.
Hello, everybody. How are we doing this morning? Amazing. My name is Michael, for you guys who do not know me, and we are going to be in the Gospel of John this morning, chapter 15, starting verse 9. And this is an exciting time for us as we're going through the Gospel of John. And if you're new here today, we basically just love the Bible. We go through every word, basically, of every book. Right now, we are in the Gospel of John. And I love John because it's a mix of mystery, mysticism, and memory. And it's like has this thick theological lens over top of it, which makes it just so fascinating and so interesting for us to read. And as we go through this, there are recurring themes that are erupting out of this text, specifically through chapters 13 and 17, and they're very important for us to understand all of what's happening here. So, by way of intro, I think this is important. I love my wife. Thank you. I thought there was going to be more encouragement, but that's okay. I was a young man, just head over heels. Got to that time where, I met my wife at 14, and for some reason, we would send each other back and forth preposterous wedding proposal videos for some reason. I'm not sure why, but we did. And it really set me up for a loss when it was my time to finally go and propose. We'd be sending these videos for years and years and years back and forth. She was living overseas as a flight attendant, flying all over the world, and I was here. And it came to the time. I get the ring. I'm freaking out, trying to figure out what to do. And so she sends me a roster of all of her flights, and she just so happens to arrive July 21st to Tokyo, Japan, which is her birthday. And I go, oh, this is it. And so I get myself ready. I go and do what any young man does, and I yell at my mom to buy me tickets to Japan. She does it because she loves me. And there I am by myself flying to Tokyo, Japan. No plans. I actually haven't even booked a hotel. I had no idea. And I actually happened to forget when you go to Japan that they speak Japanese. And so I arrive, have no plans, don't know what I'm doing. And luckily at the airport, they would sell these wireless routers that you could put on $10 a day, have Wi-Fi all the time. And that's how I made my way through. The problem is that she is in Dubai. I'm supposed to be in Canada, but I'm really in Japan. So I'm having to keep track of all of these different time zones, and so I come up with some excuse. I have mono. Why? I have no idea. I've never had mono. I don't know what that means. But I said it, and I just knew it made you sleep a lot. So I was like, hey, I'm sleepy. So she arrives, she gets there, and this is like, I'm playing 4D chess on this proposal, right? And so I send her a text message on the iMessage because I know that as soon as she gets into Wi-Fi, the little check mark will change and it'll say kind of delivered. And then I know the game is on. So I'm texting my friend Anna, and she's like, how's it going? It's great, blah, 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 whatever. And she's like, has she arrived yet? And the problem is that when I had sent, my now wife that text, you close your phone and you open it up, and then the notification of my friend Anna comes on, and this problem happens with the iPhone where you click that notification, but it goes back to the previous conversation you were just in. So now I text the woman I'm about to propose to. I'm waiting outside of her hotel. She's just about to arrive. So I've flown from Canada all the way to Tokyo, okay? And I've just screwed this up. So I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my goodness, I did not just do that. And so I sit there, I'm thinking, what do I do? I then proceed to probably send my now wife 1,000 text messages. J, X, Y, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, L, 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 hi. Like 7, just so it would flood her phone to the point where she would not ever think about scrolling all the way to the bottom, right? And so you can imagine when she gets into her hotel and she goes, what? Right? Like just chaotic texting. And so I sent her this message. I say, hey, go downstairs. It's your birthday. I had sent you a gift to your hotel. I was the gift. You get it? That's so cool. And she comes downstairs to this like beautiful kind of hotel ballroom space or whatever, and there I am, and I get down on one knee, and she has no idea what I'm saying. She doesn't care. She's thinking about what dress am I gonna wear, where am I gonna get married, you know? Just totally just glazed over eyes, and I've been practicing this sucker for a while. She gave me nothing. And she's just like, yes, 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 like urgently gets me up. And then as a celebration, I then took her to Tokyo Disneyland, right? Which is like amazing. She goes there and it's also special. The question is, why would I go through all of this? The chaos of going from Canada to Japan to going through all of these different treks, going through all these like different trials and obstacles. Why would I do any of these things? The reason why I would do any of this is because of one word that dominates you and your life. Every decision, every thought, every idea, every action is all dominated by one word, and that word is love. It runs who you are, and now we find ourselves ready to approach a text in John chapter 15 where Jesus says this. Remember, this is like all table talk. They're sitting in this room with all of his disciples, and this is what he says. Verse 9. As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. And the reason why this is so important is because love and its definition will change everything about you. I remember being here at the church, and I was talking to a man going through marital issues, and he looked at me and he said, "What even is love?" Like, I know what love is, but I guess just really when you're getting through it, it becomes difficult to discern. And isn't that so true that so many lives have gone away, have gone adrift because of their trying to find the definition of exactly what this is? It's the question that we all want answered. It's man's deepest longing. What is love anyways? Love is not something that just mysteriously takes you over. It's not something that you fall into. It's something that you do. And the definition is incredibly important because I worked with a lot of high school students, and those guys are gross, man, the way that they try to date each other with the FaceTimes and the whatever, and you're sitting there at youth, and they're facing, you hang up. No, you hang up. No, you're cute. No, you're cute. Barf, right? Like, no, what are we talking about? Like, that's insane. You know what true love is? True love is, I was telling my wife, like, the best story of all time, and midway through, I think she started snoring. Like, it was like... And the reason why that's so important is because on one thing, I love you, whatever. If you define love as the intense feeling of pleasure and affection, this intense emotion that comes out of you for desire, then your love life will look one certain way, but this love is not like that. This love is agape love. This is a God kind of love, and this love is not an intense feeling of affection, desire, or pleasure. Agape is the love born out of decision. It's the result of a choice. It's not ignited by the loneliness or the goodness of the other. Agape is energized by an act of the will. Agape is decision love, and this is the love with which God loves us. A simple definition for us is that love is a settled purpose to act in a way that brings about the well-being for another, regardless of their response. Love defines everything that we do, and this is not just for the Christian. This word is used a bit differently, but look at how the humanist Jeremy Bentham, an English philosopher he created his own axiom of human morality, and this is what he says. This is how he defines morality. It is the greatest happiness of the greatest number that is the measure of right and wrong. And so you think, if this is how he defines what is right and what is wrong, this is the basis of what he believes. This is what drives every decision. But no. There is one layer deeper. There is a basement to this thought, and this is what he writes. Is there one of these in my pages in which love of humankind for a moment has been forgotten? Show it to me, and this hand shall be the first to tear it out. The foundation of him defining what is right or wrong, morality for all human beings, is still being driven by love, and he's not even a Christian. You see these kind of gray characters in movies, everyone is driven by their love. Think of the great villain Thanos in all of these Marvel movies, who wants to wipe out half of the universe. Why? Because he thinks it's the greatest flourishing for the most amount of people, driven by what he thinks is a loving action. And what you notice is that people on the opposite side of politics, people on the opposite sides of social justice issues, all are being oriented by their highest love. Everyone operates from their loves. So how does Jesus go about trying to change that within us? Well, the difference between you and I is that you and I cannot say that we are, as an identity statement, love. But God does. And the Father takes all of the core of his identity and throws it towards Jesus. And the beauty of us is that Jesus takes the very core of his identity and then goes and sends it towards us. And this begins to get the ball moving of us changing our highest affections and him truly having us. And then listen to what it says, abide in my love, or remain in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. Abide, it's to remain, it's to stay in position. I played a lot of volleyball growing up, and in ninth grade, I was the kind of person who would just like run everywhere. My arms were swinging everywhere. I'd dive for balls just because it looked cool, whatever. I remember one time my coach, he grabs me by the shoulders and he goes, when the person is swinging from over here, and he grabbed me by the shoulders and he says, I need you to go right here. I need you to go from here to right here and just stay there. And watch what happens. And I'm going, what does this guy know? I'm amazing, right? So I listen to him, and the ball's about to get swung, and I go from here, and I move over, and I get here. And the ball comes directly at me. And I pass it. And I look like incredible. His instruction is, go from here to here. This is my command to you. Go from here to here and stay put and reap the rewards of listening to my commands. This is what he's saying. Stay put, stay here. And I love the image of this. Remain, abide. It's not about getting in. It's about staying in something. And that is so important for us as we think about this. As Jesus is talking in this context, even for me, I think about, why does he get into this language? Abide in my love. Abide in my love, abide in my love. Why does he get that? Stay put, stay here. Why does he go through this? Remember the context. We're at a dinner table. All these people are around the table. This is table talk conversation for the last couple chapters. But at the very beginning of this dinner, something happened that profoundly shifted the mood and makes Jesus go and say this. Look at what it says in chapter 13. After saying these things, Jesus was troubled in his spirit and testified, truly, truly, I say to you, one of you will betray me. Jesus answered, it is he to whom I will give this morsel of bread when I have dipped it. So when he had dipped the morsel, he gave it to Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot. Then after he had taken the morsel, Satan entered into him. Jesus said to him, what you are going to do quickly. So after receiving the morsel of bread, he immediately went out, and it was night. I find it so interesting that one of Jesus' best friends betrays him and leaves, and then he goes into a whole spiel. Stay here. Stay here. Be with me. I know there's other things that are driving your attention. Just be here. Do not leave. And it's this beautiful reciprocal effect where Jesus is saying, hey, listen, it's remain in my love. Remain in my love, and look at how it's just going to cause you to just like change the way you think about people. His whole language is abide in his love. It's kick back. Sit back. Live in what he has offered to you. And then he's going to call us to go and kick in, to go and love those who I've called you to love. I don't know if this is the same case for you, but as a little kid, when you start learning about like the world, there are so many mind-blowing things, aren't there? One of the ones I loved is you're sitting down, everyone's on the carpet or whatever, and they're teaching you about leaves and trees, and they're talking about you as a human being, and they say, you know what's so crazy is that you as a human being, you breathe out oxygen, or you breathe in oxygen, almost there, breathe in oxygen, you breathe out carbon dioxide, and then on the other half of this, you got some trees. And the trees take in carbon dioxide and send out oxygen. And it's this beautiful reciprocal cycle that keeps going back and forth. You breathe in life, you breathe out life. You breathe in life, you breathe out life. And there is no more helpful illustration in the Christian life than that. Hey, breathe in is love. Kick back, just understand that life is being given to you and it is not yours. And then now what you gotta do, you gotta breathe out that exact same life. Sit in my love so that you can go out and love. This is his whole bit. Remain in my love. Stay put here. That's why this is so important. This is my joy. It's my commandment that you love one another as I love you. Go and sit in my love so that you can go and love one another. And look at this. These things I've spoken to you, that in my joy may be in you and that your joy may be full. And I don't think we see the implication of all of Jesus' words as joy. For some of you who are new here, maybe you think that Jesus' words is all about behavior modification. It's stopping you from gambling or cussing or treating your wife better or treating your kids better. That's the point of Jesus' words. Maybe for some of you, you're a little bit more cynical and you say the only reason why Jesus says anything to us is because he wants a certain level of control or power over us with every aspect of our life. And maybe that's what you think the goal is. Jesus pushes all of that back by saying, the reason why I say these things, that my joy may be in you. That my joy may be in you. Isn't that unbelievable? The whole purpose as to why we're having this dinner and why I'm talking about all the things that I'm talking about is because I want you to have joy. The joy that is stubborn, the joy that is relentless, the joy that, as Karl Barth says, and I love this, joy is the defiant nevertheless. Regardless of what's going on, it's the thing that keeps you rooted because you know where you are at. This right now is a very weird season of my life. And listen, I am not the master of all of this. I'm not like the most holy person on the planet. I don't have all of this thing aced. I'm a young man trying to follow Jesus, just like hopefully you here in the room. I don't have this all figured out. This is a weird season for me. I shared with you a little bit ago that me and my wife have been going for years of infertility. This marks the 1-year anniversary this week of us trying to do this procedure called IVF. It's a very expensive procedure, trying to just do all that is medically possible to make your body react in such a way that it creates a child. And you can imagine, we've gone through all these procedures. There's IUI, it's a different procedure. There's IVF, and IVF was always kind of the light at the end of the tunnel where it's like, we don't really think these other things are gonna work, but this one is going to be the one that works. You can imagine my wife sitting there and she's having to put drugs into her system and trying to just make things go. It is this tumultuously emotional time the whole way through, and what keeps us going? There's going to be a baby at the end of this. Just keeps you going. So that we are month after month trying to go through this procedure. We finally get to the end, and as we get to this process of like, this is the moment, the doctor informs us that you have 2 of these that are functioning, and it might not actually get there, like right when we're there in the hospital bed. So they go through the procedure, and still your hope is in like, at the end of this, there's going to be a baby, there's going to be a baby, there's going to be a baby, and in our situation, there was not. In fact, in IVF, what happens is that your eggs, you have a certain amount of eggs, you freeze those eggs, and then you can use them to do the procedure over and over again. And for us, there was nothing. No baby, no backup plan, no eggs. And you look at that situation, and you think, that is horrible. I think what we've come to understand is something really important. Joy is deeper than happiness and richer than pleasure. Joy is what reminds you of where your home is. It's that at-homeness in the soul. And what we came to the conclusion of, and I really want you to hear this, with all the things, maybe not this particular situation, but all of the things going on. Not having a child does not change where I find my home. And the reason why, and I love this guy named Walter Knight, he writes this, Joy is the flag that flies over the castle of our hearts, announcing that the King is in residence today. There's also another kind of action here that's very humbling. I love this verse in 11. These things I've spoken to you that my joy may be in you. I took a class with this guy at Regent College. His name is J.I. Packer. He's like, I'm pretty much like a fanboy of his. And I took this class. It was like Anglican history and theology. It was like this most boring class in the world. And I sat there like, right? And he's so good, right? He's like this old British guy. He's like amazing. We're in class. And he sits there, and we're going to go for break. And he's just this, like, loving old guy, right? And he goes, and so we're going to go and take a break, and we are going to get the liquid honey, which is called coffee, right? And he's, like, so jacked, and everyone's sitting, like, we don't even know we're dismissed yet, and he's like, walking out of the class, and we're all just looking at him like, what is the weirdest thing in the world? He's just so happy, this guy. And so me, as the fanboy that I am, I get up and I, follow Dr. Packer, and I'm like, hey, Dr. Packer. Just hit him on the shoulder. I'm like, oh, it's crazy, right? I just ask him a simple question. I just go, hey, if there's like one book outside of the Bible that I need to just like, no, to be like you, what is it? And he goes, the most helpful thing you can do is memorize this book. And it's called Pilgrim's Progress. Just memorize it, inside and out, both parts. And I'm reading this book, and there's this place called the Valley of Humiliation. And in this part, it's a shepherd boy sitting down among the sheep, and you can just hear him playing his pipe, and he sings these songs. This is the song he sings. He that is down need fear no fall. He that is low, no pride. He that is humble ever shall have God to be his guide. And it's this humbling moment where for most of us, I think we have this weird equation in our minds of like sitting still and work ethic and praying is the formula for like a great Christian life. And I think what we have to be humbled by is that. This joy isn't even yours. This is his. This is the kind of thing where you hold on to him and you hold on for dear life because it's not yours. It's not something that you muster up. I need to feel better after all of this pain. What he's saying is, cling on to me. Hold on to me, remain with me, and let my joy, that it may be in you. And what happens when we attach ourselves to him and to his joy? It's full. Humble ourselves to remember that this is his joy. And what's presupposed here is that human joy in a fallen world will be at best shallow and incomplete until human existence is overtaken by the greatness, the majesty, the grandeur, and the joy of God Almighty. The Son does not give his disciples his joy as some discrete package. He shares his joy insofar as they share his obedience, the obedience that willingly faces death to self-interest. You don't have to muster anything up within your soul. You just have to stay close. His joy comes from your abiding. Just sit with him, be with him. Don't try to outwork yourself in the spiritual life. Working yourself to death is not going to make you more holy. The thing that will make you more holy is by knowing him, by being with him, by sitting at his feet and allowing his joy to be the thing that changes you from the inside. This is what it means to be a Christian, to embrace the whole Christ, the suffering Christ, the risen Christ, the reigning Christ, the coming Christ, who says at every point, I have come that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be full. This is on him. This is what he has to offer to us. And then he gives us this beautiful description here in 13. Greater love has no one than this, that someone laid down his life for his friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you. Imagine this is the context. His friend has just left him. And this is challenging for us, but what does this really mean for us to be friends with God? Here is a quick theology of friendship. Proverbs 18:24. A man of many companions may come to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Proverbs 27:9. Oil and perfume make the heart glad, and the sweetness of a friend comes from his earnest counsel. See, back in those days, this sweetness, you couldn't just make something sweet. You had to go and find something sweet in order to make whatever it is that you were making sweet. Sweetness in this time is not something that you make. Sweetness is something that you discover. And the same is true of a friend. A friend is not someone that you make. A friend is someone that you discover. A lot of this is coming from Ralph Waldo Emerson and C.S. Lewis, and I love their thoughts and how they kind of go about this. The typical expression of opening friendship would be something like this. What? You too? I thought I was the only one. Lovers talk about their relationship, but you never do that with a friend. Friends are absorbed in some kind of a common interest. So think about college. You had college friends, and maybe for that season you shared all the same classes, and you're with them. As soon as that common affinity was gone, your relationship was over. High school, if you shared the same amount of classes with someone, they were a friend for that season, but as soon as the affinity left, all of a sudden your relationship went as well. A friend is someone who discovered you. A friendship brings something into your life that romance cannot bring, siblings cannot bring, that parents cannot bring. See, without erotic love, you wouldn't exist. Without family love, you would not grow. Without neighborly love, you would not be protected. This is something very different. This is how C.S. Lewis says it. This love essentially ignores not only our physical bodies, but the whole embodiment which consists of our family, job, past, and connections. At home, besides being Peter or Jane, we also bear a general character, husband or wife, brother or sister, chef, colleague or subordinate. Not among our friends. It is an affair of disentangled or stripped minds. Listen to this. Romantic love will have naked bodies, but true friendship will have naked personalities. Ralph Waldo Emerson says, I do not wish to treat friendships daintily, but with the roughest courage. When they are real, they are not glass threads or frostwork, but the solidest things we know. Friendship is based on a common affinity or desire. Now, think about this within the context of what he just said. Greater love has no one than this, that someone lay down his life for his friends. And then what does he say? You are my friends. If. This is the big word here. And this is why it's so important when it comes to friendship. This is the last thing about friendship. Friendship does not ask, do you love me? As much as it asks, do you see the same truth? Friendship does not ask, do you love me? As much as it does, do you see the same truth? What is that truth? What is that common affinity? Well, for Jesus, he understands that if you build your friendship on anything other than something that is lasting, that friendship can deteriorate and go away. Which is why for him, he says, all of who we are, the common affinity, desire, the thing that brings us together, can only be with something that is everlasting forever. The thing that is your common truth and my common truth is him. He's the one that keeps us together with him. It's understanding the truth of him. And the test of this friendship is that you love him, is that knowing him, you are going to listen to what he says, because with that, you reap the ultimate rewards of having his joy in your life. This is what causes us to understand this. Look at verse 13. Greater love has no one than this, that someone may lay down his life for his friends. I love how Charles Spurgeon, the great preacher, says, now the death of Christ was the greatest possible display of love of God to men. Never forget that it was not merely infinite justice that blazed forth from the cross, but also infinite affection too. This is so countercultural to so many religions. You know, there's so many Eastern religions says that God is beyond emotion. There actually is no way that you can get close to him. He's beyond grief. He's beyond tears. He's beyond any affection at all. But the question is, if he's beyond those things, then he has to at the same time be beyond friendship. It doesn't sound like a very good God to me. The ancient Greeks would say that God is apatheia. It's where we get our word apathy from, meaning God is not capable of relationship. He's not capable of emotion. But what Jesus is saying is something very, very different. He surpasses all of the expectation of the gods of the Eastern world, and he says, I have more to offer. Friendship is something that I have to give you if you see the same truth, but that truth is only found in me, is what he says. Greater love has none than this, to lay down one's life for their friends. And the love of Jesus is always great. But it seems like there are degrees of love, which is what he's talking about. I don't know about you, but when I think about Jesus kind of creating everything that is, it seems kind of loving, but it's not the greatest. I think about God becoming flesh, like becoming a human being, just humbling himself down to the point of a servant. That is so amazingly loving, but it is not the greatest love. I think about God himself hiding in obscurity for 30 years in a random town and village without making a big scene and not getting all the attention. I find that is like a great amount of love, but it is not the greatest love. I think about Moses walking up to the burning bush and he sees this sacred fire in front of him, God's actual embodiment. And that embodiment in Jesus is hidden in a carpenter's store. That is great love, but it is not the greatest. I think of God himself healing people as he walked around towns and villages. That is great love, but it is not the greatest. It's him calling these disciples, this ragtag group of friends, and bringing him alongside of himself. That is great love, but it is not the greatest. It's him training those disciples and qualifying them for the work that he is going to have them do. And it's great love, but it is not the greatest. For him to sit there, God himself, go down into his knees and wipe the actual garbage off of people's feet and wash their feet down is great love, but it is not the greatest. The greatest act of love that he shows is to lay down one's life for his friends. I love this. This one writer says, the eternal divine love reached its complete and unsurpassable expression in the death of Christ, which was at the same time the death of a man for his friends. And we hear this language, someone laid down his life for his friends, and you go, that's the greatest amount of love? I feel like I could do that. We kind of diminish this. Maybe you've had that thought. I've had that thought. What's the big deal? Someone giving their life for someone else? I could probably do that if that was my wife or my children's or a really good friend. Like I would jump in front of the bullet for them. I would push them outside of the way of the train. I would do all of those things. But here is what you're missing. One great moment of heroic action does not mean this for Jesus. One great moment where you put yourself aside and you jump into the way to save somebody else's life is not what this is. If you think that God knows everything that will occur, that Jesus from eternity past knew that this was his outcome, you see how different this becomes? Every waking moment, every minute, every hour, every year from eternity past, he sees this in front of him and does not sway from this direction. He looks it down the barrel and he keeps trudging and walking forward. This is not one act of heroic courage in someone's life. This is an eternity past worth of moments where he stares this down and says, I'm going to do this for you anyways. There's these great stories. There's one in Belgium of a man who worked at a train station, and there was these two trains that were coming together, and the lock that basically diverted both of the trains was locked, and so he had to jump down onto the rails and hold himself down and tie the knot to a place where all of a sudden the two trains would pass by, and he was underneath the trains the whole time as he was pushing them together. And two trains of people survived that moment because he willingly put his life to the line to lie down under the tracks. Imagine the brakes going past his face, possible death amongst him, and he saved both of those things. And there's something within us that looks at that and goes, that is just absolutely miraculous. Like, that is so incredible. And something wells up inside of us. That is not this. Jesus dying does not well up these good affections within us. It creates something that was not there. It does not keep people alive. It makes people alive. That's the difference. He changes the game for every single one of us who sits there and goes, I could have done this. Do you understand that the people that he died for were the people that betrayed him? The very friends that he called were the ones that ran away? That he was beaten and brutalized, he was humiliated in front of everyone, ripped of all of his clothing, he was battered and bruised, he was hung on a Roman cross, numbered with all of the criminals. This is not the same thing. The difference is that he has fundamentally changed something within the human experience. That what he has dealt with is our sin, not our passivity or our sluggishness. He had dealt with our active hostility, not just this dull, passive heart that we have within us. No, there is a change that has happened. And the Bible says that you did not go from a good person to a friend or a great person to a friend. That this sacrifice, someone laying down his life for his friends, turned you from enemy to friend. And we hold on to the last rag of self-respect in every way. No, I could. He just demands all of you. Your thought to consider, like, why did Jesus even have to do this? Well, I think the theological answer is that he came to glorify God, which is great. But he was already glorifying God within heaven, so what's the point? Maybe he came to get something that he didn't yet have, to get something that was lost. Maybe the whole point of him dying on this cross was that he wanted his friends back. It does change the language a lot when you say that Jesus is my friend. It's no longer this pithy statement that we say to make ourselves feel better. Something very different. We hear this, that greater love is no one than this, that someone laid down his life for his friends. And I think, remember, kick back, kick in, breathe out, life in, life out. I think here's the challenge for us, and I'll leave you with this last question. When the world looks at the church, do they see a love that can only be experienced by the supernatural power of God? When they see my life, can they see a love that can only be experienced, described by the supernatural power of God? This is what you and I are called to do. To sit, to remain, to cling on, to abide in his joy and let him do the work, and then allow ourselves to really recognize who he is and let that change the world. Father, we thank you for the time that you have here this morning. Pray that as we sit here and we just think about all that it is that you're calling us to, that we would just keep your commandments, that we would remain in your love, and that your joy may be in us, so that our joy may be complete. It's not something that we muster, not something that we create, but we actually just sit in who you are. The core of your very identity is directed towards us, and we can just sit in that. I pray that we would just see your sacrifice differently, that greater love is nothing than this, than to lay down their life for his friends. And that you have numbered us in and amongst that friendship. So I just pray for joy, gratefulness, the defiant nevertheless of all human interactions, that we cling on to you and that you do with us what you will. Pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.